Welcome. I'm Debbie Foster. I've been with Cressy for, I think, 12 or 13 years. I can't remember. I think I started in 13. So, yeah, 12 almost. Yeah. So, anyways, I, everybody has, pardon me? Oh, gosh. Do you really want to know? Because I'm going to give my age away. So, the first part, I stayed home and I didn't work with I have two kids and I didn't work with them. So, I stayed home. And then my husband that I was married to then, we had a restaurant for 10 years in Granger. So we had Platees. It was on State Road 23, right by Salsa's, where Salsa's is now in that plaza. We had that for 10 years. And then when we divorced, I got that, he got that business. And then I moved to Three Rivers, Michigan. And I worked for the school district up there for 10 years. And then we got married and moved back to this area. And I worked for the Housing Authority doing tax credit properties and income-based properties for 2 years. And then I got into Cressy.
And her daughter, if you wander around the office, you'll see her from time to time, is Lindsay Mislowski.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And then shortly after I got in, I had her, yeah.
now Olivas.
Oliva's restaurant. Have you ever been there?
Sounds familiar.
It's in Mishawaka. That's my brother's and his wife's restaurant.
Cigars?
Huh?
No children and cigars? Is that what it is?
They do sell cigars.
Okay, so it's a cigar. Okay, that's what it is.
And then there used to be Regio's on Jefferson. Is anybody familiar with that?
I know that.
Yeah, well, that was my dad. So our family's always kind of been in the restaurant business. What?
Shut it down pretty soon after the lockdown and all that.
Yeah, my dad passed away in 2013, and so it was sold right after that. So, and then my brother got back into it, and not me. Once was good enough for me. I'm like, have at it, have at it. So, not my. It's a lot of work. You live, breathe, and it's no. If you think you live and breathe real estate, ever try opening a restaurant? That's yeah, yeah.
I mean, even just working at, I was a
I
bartender,
liked it, but
and then I did like medical surgery. The bartending was far more stressful. Like, than any job I've ever had. It was so stressful.
You're like a counselor too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the body, the physicality on your body anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Legs or even just running.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
I see waitresses like, and I'm like, I could never do that again.
It's good money. That's what makes it hard work.
Yep. Yep. And it's a young person's career.
And that's, I think, where my husband and I were going until Sue said, I don't know if you should do that. Let's get you in a real career.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep.
Some years ago.
Right, right. So anyways, what about you? Tell me your name and what you did before this.
So my name's Garrett. I graduated from St. Joe High School in 2014. Done a lot of jobs, a lot of sales. I graduated from Indiana University. I actually have 4 kids now.
Oh,
And
wow.
after my first kid, I went into the medical sales.
Uh-huh.
So I work in all the hospitals. I still am in it. I'm trying to get into real estate.
Okay. So you have a full-time job right now.
I do, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good. Well, you're busy then.
Very busy.
On a side note, Debbie, Carol, and I don't know if you've met Carol yet, Carol Gutermuth, did I say that right?
Yeah, you
Okay.
did.
Is Garrett's mother, so she's also a new agent.
I met you in the flex room upstairs.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes, yes. Yeah, very nice lady. Yeah. Okay. Kelly. Hi. I really don't know like what you did before this or anything. Okay.
But like I, I did a lot of other things. I've lived a lot of places.
Uh-huh.
Served a lot of drinks. I was a bartender for a while, and I
Yeah.
preferred serving just because you can run away from people, and they have to stay at the table.
Yeah.
Bartending, you're trapped.
With that person.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All the flies.
You get the
Like,
coolest people.
you do. Like some of them are awesome, but every once in a while
Also
you
the
get a
creepiest
pickle.
people too.
Yeah, and you can't like you literally can't get away from them.
Right. Yeah, you get that same one that comes in every day.
Right.
Yeah, until they say something to somebody and then they get their feelings hurt and then there's a drama.
Yeah.
And please don't put alcohol on that. Please don't do that. But yeah, it's fun. Like I have a couple of kids. I love them. I No popcorn, sorry guys. No cookies, sorry.
Oh,
So sorry.
no, but yes, you have some free time now, don't you?
It gets wild, like,
Mhm.
it's so intense, like, I'm always selling stuff, and I'm so glad I don't have to ask people to buy it anymore.
Aw,
It's
don't.
such a good feeling.
We
Yeah.
like to be reminded that it's trust out
It's
every time.
exhausting.
Trust me.
Well, if you guys need a reminder, I know some little girls that will be selling, but it won't be my channel.
Good for you.
Not anymore.
Well, your kids are adorable.
Oh, thank you. They're up there screaming in Flexner right now.
Aw, they're so
What
well
is Flexner?
behaved.
Well, Wi-Fi is awesome.
Well, I know, but they're still well behaved.
Yeah, they're all right.
It's up there like.
They like don't like hit each other or anything.
No,
Just
they're
like,
nice.
I need to walk around. They weren't mean to each other.
No, trust me,
They're not.
have you been to Little Valley running around here sometimes?
It's like it's full.
Your kids are great.
It's right now.
So have you been in the restaurant business?
No.
Oh, darn it. I thought we were all going to be.
I still have a full-time job.
Okay.
I work at Old Farm Apartments.
Mm-hmm.
I help cover for a lot of like the Edward Rose properties. There's a lot over here too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there almost 9 years, and I'm planning to hopefully stay there and try to juggle
Mm-hmm.
real estate and my job.
Well, you might pick up some clients that want to buy a house.
I've already been working on it.
That's awesome.
I think
As soon
that's,
as their lease is expired, I'm like, do you want to look for a house? I haven't gotten any luck yet, but
yeah.
You will. That's a great approach.
Mm-hmm.
That's your clientele.
We had an agent here that's
Yes,
no
we did.
longer here that did that, and
Yeah,
she did well.
Started,
Mm-hmm.
started in leasing, and eventually, my mom actually was a real estate agent who started in leasing for
Mhm.
Gene Glick,
yeah.
and I worked for Gene Glick for a
Oh,
little bit,
wow.
when I was much younger. But yeah, no, it's a great way. That's your clientele base right there,
Yeah.
because they're not going to want to pay rent forever. The pitch is, you can save money buying a house long term
Mhm.
what you're paying in rent.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that mortgage payment will be less.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find them. They'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will. They will.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I'm not right now. I'm like, there's the property manager, and I'm just the assistant. I don't help people a lot. I just do like inspections.
Hi, congratulations. How did it go?
Oh no, I have to go at 4.
Oh, okay.
Together.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I don't work with like the customers a lot. I just mainly do inspections outside on the property. So I don't get to do a lot of like talking, but here and there I try to.
Yeah, that's kind of like me when I worked, doing the tax. I came by here and I saw your sign, saying that classes begin. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I filled these buildings. They were like 0 occupancy, and they're full now. If I can fill apartment complexes, I'm going to try real estate. And so we both took the classes at the same time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so his is in referral here. Oh,
I knew it though.
oh, okay.
Can I steal it?
Yeah, go ahead and give her your. Here, does she get this one too? These both are yours.
Just take it. No, because one's listing and one's pending.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you see Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
Got it.
We're good. All right.
Yeah, she gave me one.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Like sneaking in, stealing people's stuff.
That's okay. You came in just in time. It's your turn to tell us about you.
What about me?
Like where you worked and what you.
I actually was retired for a year and a half, but I sold lumber for a long time, and I had an incredible agent that sold my house and helped me buy my new one. I do all the
Aw,
time.
you're so sweet.
And that's why I think it's important that they knew it was you. too,
Yeah.
because-
Aw.
That is, it helped me sell my
Aw.
house and buy my
Yeah.
new house. And she sold my husband's other house in Cassopolis as well. She's a fabulous agent,
Aw.
and I loved Cressy because of all the great marketing and just the great agent, and been interested forever and got more interested going through the process, and then the class thing popped up.
And she was a great client
I was
too.
the worst
No,
client.
she wasn't. She
We
was
looked at-
great.
We looked at 26 houses.
No, you were
I
fine.
remember you saying something about
It was her.
I kept telling her, I'm sorry, I promise it's gonna pay off. I
No, my record is like 60 some houses to a client.
They did not,
Yes.
Okay, good.
they better have.
Thank goodness. I still see her, and she's like, "Has anybody broke my record?" I'm like, "No, thank God."
Like, I cut it off.
So, anyways, but it's fun. You get to know people that way, right? You definitely know what they like and they don't like. I mean, like I had a gal the other day call me about a house, and I'm like, and I told her up front, I'm like, because I've been out with her enough. I'm like, you are not going to like it. You're not going to like it. I went there for a listing appointment. I didn't get the listing, but now I'm glad I didn't. But anyways, I'm like, you are not going to like it. And we went over there, and I could just see the look on her face when we were walking through the door. And she looked at me. She goes, "You know me pretty well, don't I?" I go, "Yep."
I feel like, yeah, I feel like even most of the houses that we saw was like, they're deceiving sometimes with the pictures and whatnot. And she knew when we went in, like, okay. Like, and when I was like, yeah, no, we're
Yeah.
like,
The right picture can make any room
while
look
my
a lot bigger than.
husband's
It can.
walking around
You
trying to
don't.
sell me on.
You don't see the little details that they didn't take care of. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, well, I'm glad you're all here today. We have a small group, and like I said, I have a hard time making it last 2 hours, but you guys can engage anytime you want and kind of fill my time. So once you get a house under contract, it doesn't mean you're going to get to closing. So you want to make sure you're the kind of the navigator in getting your home to closing. So, your whatever emotions you give your buyer or your seller is what they're going to feed on. So you want to stay calm and kind of help them through the process, and not, even though you're raging inside about something that was said, if you don't, just keep it simple and not get people upset, because then when emotions get involved, then transactions can fall apart. So just getting there smoothly. And so getting there smoothly too is also keeping good records of all your paperwork, because I am old fashioned still. I like to have a hard file with me, but then again, I put everything on dot loop too, because there's times where you're in your car or you're making a shopping trip or whatever, and you get a call about something, and you can just pull dot loop up on your phone and say, nope, you've got that document. This is what it says, so you don't have to say, oh, wait till I get back to my file, because people are online most of the time. So anyways, dot loop is amazing. You've done your dot loop class already? Okay, so keeping good files is what you want to do. So everything that's signed, you will put in your dot loop file. So let me just give you an example. I just pulled some of mine up here. This one.
As you guys will notice too, everybody kind of does their view differently. We've looked at dot loop
Yep.
with different people, and some people use their lists and view types differently. So if it ever gets confused, just remember we've mostly seen this way, but if you ever notice a different layout, just know it's probably.
And some people probably get really fancy, and there's probably some things that I don't know that I should probably take the dot loop class on and update myself, because I'm just,
As long as you're closing transactions, I don't think.
as long as I do it my way. But I guess everybody has their own way. So you'll just want to categorize everything, so like this was an offer. So this was the offer. So I put all my offer docs in here. So you just want to make sure you have everything aligned and label them the way you want to, because you can rename everything, over here. If the document comes up and you don't like what it says, it doesn't explain it to you well enough, then just put it in there the way it is easy for you. You'll have your own system. And as long as the office can understand your system too, because they get in there too, so to make sure if they're looking up something. But yep, keeping good, and then making files. Like I always do, like a offer and then a closing folder you're going to have, where you're going to have your final, let's see. Oh, I haven't closed on this one yet. That's why there's nothing there. Then your inspections, you'll have all your inspections. And so you just want to add your files that you need for there, and all your people, put them in there. Yeah, so, and then, so you're the navigator. And like I said, I like hard copies. So when I first started in the business, I was always in the office, like picking people's brains in the office. And so an agent shared these with me. These were his. And I made copies of them I redid them for me. But I always do these and keep them in my file because it helps me know all this information. So let's start with a listing. So I always put my sellers in here, their cell phones, their emails, and then when the buyer comes, I input that information. Then I have a little checklist here that says what I gave them in their listing paperwork, like marketing materials, like I uploaded their pictures, I've got the signage out, the key box assigned, and then when it goes pending, you can put these dates in here, and then you can circle what title company. It's just kind of a thing you can open up your file, and it's all right there. So that's what I like to do, is have that in each of my files. And then I'll do the same thing for a pending sale. I'll put that in there too, just so I can have a little checklist. So you don't have to use these. This is just my thing, okay? And if you want me to send you the format on this because you want to change it yourself, just send me a little email and I'll send it to you, and you can, it's just in a Word doc, okay? So anyways, that's me. It's my anal kind of thing. Who doesn't like paper? Do you like both? I do too. I do too.
Like digital more now though, just because like I always keep a paper calendar
Mm-hmm.
and then like I would have a color for the specific
Oh, wow.
thing that I was doing, but now I'm like all like I can do that in this.
It's all in your phone, yeah. I keep mine in my phone too.
At home and parents
Mm-hmm.
and kids and
Mm-hmm.
husband and like
Yeah.
it's just more colors.
The digital is convenient, but I feel like I'm not as organized because I don't have
Mm-hmm.
paper.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can have both though.
Right. And
It's
that's
faster
kind
for me to jot notes down on something on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, then I can go back and kind of organize it
Yeah.
digitally.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a showing, like I like to have paper
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so I can make my notes.
And you'll get your own system, whatever works for you. I mean, you want some stuff digitally. Like I said, if you're out and you want to look on your phone for something, you can look in Dotloop for it if there's a document somebody needs or whatever. But
I'm gonna tell you, if you try to write a contract on your phone though,
oh, I've never done that.
it sucks.
Never.
It's so bad.
I'll look up documents, but like to do a purchase agreement on a phone,
I've tried.
shoot me now.
So difficult. And it just, the formatting's just ugly and it looks sloppy.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me one that I could tell they wrote on their phone.
Nothing's centered, nothing's
Yeah.
bold printed, nothing. Yeah.
It's so hard to read and just.
Yeah. Nope, I get it. So anyway, so yep, so you'll want to make sure that all your copies after you get something under contract or a listing contract, you want to make sure everything's signed, and you want to make sure that it's downloaded into Dotloop. And I always send a copy to your client too if they requested, if they didn't do it digitally, do it online with a digital signature. A lot of times they'll say, can you mail me the contract? So mail them the contract. I haven't had a whole lot of people that you have to do that in person with. I just had an older lady that I just sold her house, and she didn't do anything, nothing online. So anything I had to have signed, it was a trip to her house. Whether it was an amendment or an inspection response, I could probably go there blind because I was over at her house all the time. And not only did I list it, I did a purchase with her, so it was like both sides. But anyways, it's done. And then when you start the process with your client, you're going to want to give them expectations, because a lot of people have never done this before. They've never sold and they've never bought. So you'll want to let them know the process. And just because you're under contract doesn't mean, like I said, it's going to go to closing. So you have to be the driver and let them know we're going to go through inspections now. They've accepted your offer, but now, when we do the inspections, we're going to look for health and safety issues, because when we looked at the house, you kind of saw things that weren't done, but it's cosmetic things, right? So that's probably going to come back on an inspection, that the wood was rotted on the door frame going out to the garage or whatever. You can try and ask for that on a repair, but it's not a health and safety issue. It's not going to affect the value of the house. A defect is something that's going to decrease the value of the house or affect its sellability in the future. So, you just have to set those expectations and let them know that that's not going to be something the seller has to fix. You can't tell them not to put it on the inspection response, but by the time the inspections come, you'll want to deal with the bigger issues. So, right? So, and then when you have, that's what I like about this, because this checklist that I have here, because when you get a house under contract, you have to send the file to Cressy and Everett on Dotloop. You have to send these to the lender, the pending sale docs to the lender, and you have to send them to the title company. So this way you check as you send everything. So you know you sent it to Cressy and Everett. Okay, I sent it to the lender. I sent it to the title company. So you're not questioning, did I send that? I mean, you can always go look on your activity log, but to me, I'd rather just check it off. So just make your folders clean, do your checklist, and then you feel better about everything, all the process being done. And then let your buyers know that, or your sellers know that once it goes under contract, you know, you'll be calling them, setting up inspections. And with inspections, I don't tell my buyers to use a certain inspector. I give them like 3 usually choices, but I tell them, if you have a friend that sold a house or you want to look online, you can use whoever you want, because there's so many times an inspector misses something, and I'm really seriously, like, they miss things. I had it, and this is just in the last couple months, I had an inspector miss termites. They closed on the house, and then that following weekend, they started tearing the floors apart. And she texts me, she goes, we have termites. I'm like, are you sure they're termites? And she sent me a video of it. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, the report says there aren't any termites. So the inspector had to pay to have that done, that house treated. He had to go on his insurance company and have that treated. Well, had I said, you use this inspector only, then it would have been like, well, you told me to hire him, and look what they missed. You know what I mean? So I always let them make that choice, not me, because I don't want them coming back on me for that. So, I mean, sometimes they pick people I don't really like, but that's not my choice.
It's really great about still following up when the inspector does miss something, because our inspector did miss some big stuff, and she was like on top of making sure she got in touch with the selling realtor
Yeah.
agent
Mm-hmm.
and making sure everybody was in the know. And I felt like, oh, this is really above and beyond, because we already closed everything. So like I was
No,
surprised
yeah,
and
no.
just pleasantly surprised.
You have to
How
follow up with
involved.
you have to follow
Yeah.
up with your people, especially if they're reaching out to you and telling you there's a problem. You can't ignore it just because it's closed. I mean,
Right.
you want them to be happy, right? So, and you form that relationship with them. You don't want it to end up sour, you know, like that. Oh, my agent didn't care. She just closed the transaction. That was last I ever heard from her. So, or him. So, yeah, follow up definitely, and do your best. Like, yeah, definitely. I have a couple things right now and something I closed and I'm still following up on, you know, just to make sure it was done. I followed up on this gal. I said, did you get the termites taken care of? And she said, yeah, they took care of it on June 27th. We had to replace some flooring, but we're good. And, you know, moved on. So just, you know, follow up. And we want to make their experience the best, because they'll use you in the future, or they're going to refer somebody to you, you know. And when you have a former client that calls you, that means everything, you know, like all that hard work you've done is, you know, gets paid back to you, because, you know, they rewarded you by giving you a client or using you again. So, but anyways, you want to set those expectations that, you know, you're going to be calling them for inspections, you know, it's going to be kind of busy. And then once you get the inspections taken care of and everybody's happy, then you have kind of a downtime. You know, it's like, okay, well, you've got a couple weeks of the lenders doing their thing, and, you know, now you can pack. We're through the inspections. So let them know they're, you know, don't worry, I'll get in touch with you if there's anything. So you've always got that little bit of a break after the inspections. And then gets busy again at closing. So anyways, okay. And you always want to let them know what's on the contract too. Like, you have 5 days to get with your lender. You have 2 days to get your earnest money into me, whatever is on the contract. So if you have 2 business days to get the earnest money into you, you've got to make sure you get that earnest money and you get it to the agency that's going to be holding it. Because honestly, if you don't get that earnest money in by the deadline, they could sell that to somebody else, because you've defaulted your contract. So don't ever think since you have a signed listing or a purchase agreement that it's okay, because if you go 3 or 4 days and they still don't have their earnest money, that contract is not valid. So you want to make sure that you follow the guidelines. One time somebody said something about the agent never turned in the earnest money. They just kind of put it in their file. I mean, stuff like that. You can't do that, right? But anyways, the smoother it goes, the more professional we look, right? Right. So go on to the next page. So negotiating repairs. Like I said, you're going to want to look at health and safety issues and kind of explain that to your buyer and your seller, because sellers will list their house and they'll be like, I'm selling it as is. As is. I'm not doing any repairs to it. And I always say, well, you don't want to put that in the listing because it makes it sound like there's something wrong. I always tell them that. But if they insist on it, they insist on it. But most of the time, so let's just see what the inspections do. If there's something you're not going to repair, put it on the seller's disclosure. The ice maker doesn't work. Put that on the seller's disclosure and say, ice maker does not work, seller will not repair. Then that is something that's not going to come up, you know? So if that's the way they feel about it. And then they're protecting themselves that they've already disclosed that. I'm not going to fix the ice maker. And then, just talk to them about getting the most important repairs like we talked about.
If they put in it's not effective, and then it comes back on the inspection report, let's say that's the only thing that came back on the inspection report was ice maker being defective, and they said defective on the selling disclosure, that means that buyer cannot back out of a contract.
Yes, they've disclosed that already. And if they say seller will not repair, like ice maker doesn't work, and then, I always say, like, if they put a defect, I always say put a little asterisk over there, and then where it says explain on the second page, put a little asterisk, seller will not repair, so they kind of know ahead of time. They can ask for it, but you can tell them, well, we already disclosed to you that we're not going to repair that. And that's not a safety issue. It's not going to make the house less valuable. You know what I mean? Or the water softener doesn't work, if they tell them that up front. So, and another thing, okay, now that we're on water softeners, I want to bring up something else. Water softeners and LP tanks, okay? Pardon me? LP tanks is what does LP stand for? Propane tanks. So like if you're just selling in Indiana, you don't have a lot of propane tanks, but you get up into Michigan in the rural areas, you'll get some propane tanks. So you want to find out if they own the water softener or they rent it. If they own the LP tank or they rent it. I had a situation where the seller said they owned the LP tank. And then we sold it, they moved in, and they went to transfer the LP gas into their name. They didn't want that company, they wanted another one, but they couldn't because that other company owned the LP tank. Well, that seller insisted on them buying them another LP tank. Well, that seller really thought that they owned it, but they didn't. So, sometimes you might want to say, do you have proof that you own that? Are you sure you own that? Make a call to your LP company. Make sure wherever you're buying your gas from that you own that tank. Because if they don't know, it was like, how much did it end up costing? Like $1,200. Yep. So, and even on the, when you list a house and they have a water softener, always ask them, do you own it? Are you sure you own it? Yep. Yep. So because that could cost you money too in the end if they come back on you for that. So just a little bit of advice there on that because I've been burned on that one before. So, and then the appraisal comes out, and so you'll want to let them know you can't have contact with an appraiser. Like you can't call the appraiser and say, oh my gosh, these people have updated their house, they've done all these things to it. But the seller can hand them a sheet when they walk in the door and say, these are all the updates we've done. And I tell my sellers to do that. When the appraiser comes, if you can't be there, have it on the counter. these are the updates we've done, so that they know. I mean, if they're looking at comps, you know, if you've got all these updates and the other house doesn't, you know, that might be a selling point, especially if we're worried about it appraising out. I mean, if we're not worried about it, then don't worry about it. But if it's something that could change, then definitely have them do an update. But just communication is really a good thing between all parties. And sometimes we forget. Life gets busy and you get other people calling you and you got other things going on and you forget. And that happens too. So notes are always good to keep us in line. And then on the purchase agreement, on the new purchase agreements on page 2, they added that new line, line 88 and 91, where it says seller concessions and buyer broker compensation. Don't get those two mixed up. I heard of an agent that put it under seller concessions and they didn't get paid for their buyer broker compensation. So be very conscious of that. Like when you do that, make sure you're filling out the right one. On line, page 2, line 89 and 91. Make sure you're getting paid.
Yeah, me too.
At the purchase agreement? Line G, letter G.
Wait a minute, cheaper property, so 89.91.
Wait, which one do you have? Oh,
Do I
why do you have
the
the
wrong
old one?
Wait, but you might have the old one.
Oh, I thought I updated all those. Dang it. Because I ran new copies off today. Okay. There you go. Do you, here, I think that's the updated one. Does that have it? Do you see it now? Okay.
Now that I'm looking at the right thing, can you repeat what you said?
Yes. Make sure you check the right box. Make sure you're getting paid. So on buyer broker commission, don't be in a hurry and check seller concession because you won't get paid.
Yeah.
So number 2.
Yeah, so just be very conscious of that. Because they're right by each other, and if you're doing something really quick, can you see that happening?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So always double check. Yep.
If you don't check that, will the buyer pay you?
No, nobody has to pay you. I mean, the buyer, if the buyer signed a contract with you, he has to pay you, but they're not going to be happy with you either. You know what I mean? Like you have a buyer broker compensation, and they say they're paying you 3%, but if you didn't ask the seller for it, then they're going to have to pay you.
Got you. So is it the standard to ask the seller for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, you'll want to ask the seller for it first.
You guys here, my understanding, like on this, could put like the amount of the 295 and get rid of the or and do and your commission like percentage. You do that? I don't know that we can in Elkhart. I have to confirm.
What?
with
I wasn't following you. What?
So see how it has seller to pay buyer broker in the amount of, I think it's a dollar amount, and it says or the percentage of the purchase price. I have seen, it was some class that we were in that they said that Quinn allows, like, put the 295 on there, and then instead of the or, you can like.
You could put 3% plus 295.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't know if they'll allow us to do that, and like we still would have to do this seller disclosure.
Yeah, you still have to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can.
That has the 295 on it, so you don't have to.
You don't really have to
necessarily
put it on
have
here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I was under the impression that you do this with the 295 plus in lieu of having.
Now on the buyer broker compensation that they sign with you, I will put 3% plus $295 on there, so they know as my client that they're going to have to pay me 3% plus $295, but they don't need to know it on this purchase
Okay.
agreement.
Okay.
Do you follow that?
We're not asking the seller for the 295.
Right.
We're asking the buyer.
Right, exactly. Yep. Oh, I got paperwork for you. Hi, how are you? Good. Let me make sure I gave you the, that's the updated one. Okay. I'm Debbie. Rodrigo? Nice to meet you. Welcome. So,
You said Debbie, what's your last name?
Foster, Debbie Foster, simple. Yep.
We'll be emailing these copies.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I can give you my email.
Okay.
Yep. It's Debbie at listedbydebbie.com.
At listed?
At listedbydebbie.com. Yep. So does anybody have any questions, like when you get somebody under contract, like what you should do after that, or what you do maybe that I don't know and I would love to do? Okay.
So I remember my first listing, and we got a contract, and it's like, yay, we sold the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, and he was like, great. And I was like, okay. I didn't tell him what the next steps were. Like,
Mhm.
I had no idea. And I was like, you know, like, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, today the guy's gonna have the inspectors come over. And he's
Mhm.
like, oh. I was like, do you remember the contract? And he's like, yeah. Like, I really messed up. Like, I didn't walk him through it. Because
Uh-huh.
I was walking myself through it, you know? And so
Mhm.
I made some mistakes. And so I know that in a lot of the other classes, people will, write an email.
Mhm.
We have this many days until the
Mhm.
inspections are due. And like, you need to make sure that your seller knows those things.
Mhm.
And your buyers too. But I mean, it seems like for some reason it comes more naturally to like walk a buyer through it because you're doing
Mhm.
with them like we need this, this, and this. But like for some reason like the listing, I don't know why. I really messed up and probably won't have a referral from that person.
So yeah, so you can do that too, like send your buyer or your seller an email with expectations rather than just telling them to whatever. Some people have a format that they use and they do that. I've gotten some from other people on cross transactions. I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea. I should do that.
I think that's what Jody said. I don't remember if it was Jody or not, but it was a class, like she has a template with, and then you just have to put the dates
Yeah.
in to like, these are the dates that
Mhm.
these things are due, and then she just,
Who's Jody?
Albright,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I think it might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been.
Yep. You could
her
do that. Yeah.
She's
Mhm.
like, just have it saved as like a PDF template on my desktop, and that way I can just copy it and add in the dates.
Yep.
And whatever, which would be very helpful. I'm sure. I like any
Yep. Just make sure you change the person's name on it and stuff.
Right, exactly.
Mr. Smith. No, I'm not Mr. Smith. I've done that before on templates. You got to make sure you change all the all that stuff. So, yep. And so when you do get a contract, you get something under contract, the title company is going to send you the title commitment. And so you'll want to look over the title commitment to make sure that there's no liens, tax liens or anything like that on the property, or anything that you missed that the seller didn't tell you or that the buyer may need to know. Like I listed a property and he didn't tell me he owned a bunch of tax money, and I had no idea. And so the buyer's agent and I got it, the title commitment, and he owed all this money. Well, all that had to be cleared up before we could close. We had to get all that. So that was a lot of work when you get tax liens on a property, because it's not simple to get it off.
I have a question about that because the house that I'm going to go to today has like goofy little small things delinquent that I noticed in their tax history. Like they missed some $7.50 payment a few months that was like something extra that they had to pay. And so then they so it's gonna be a small amount, but like recommending you need to get that paid ahead of time, or do they just take that out at closing?
They'll take it out at
They'll
closing.
take it out at closing.
The title company will get that all taken care of. You just have to make sure it's on the closing statement, you
Right.
know? Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. Yep, because they won't.
You wouldn't recommend at a listing presentation to try to clear that up before you list the property.
A lot of people can't. I mean, they need to sell the property in order to clear some of that off, you know? So, yeah,
If it's
because,
something that's small and they're not like owing, if they don't owe on the
Mhm.
house anymore, maybe like if you can, it might make it go more smoothly if you can get
Or-
that paid off beforehand.
or just let them know it's going to come out
It's
of their
gonna come out of
proceeds.
your proceeds.
And so you need to maybe give them an updated seller net sheet, say if you're going to, you know, this has to be cleared up, so this is going to make your profit less, you know, so update that net sheet knowing that
Right.
they're not going to be bringing that home. Because a lot of people don't have the funds, really. I mean, otherwise they probably would have paid, you know, paid it.
I think this one was just an oversight because it's like some extra.
Sounds like
ditch,
recycling.
like a ditch thing. It's
Yeah.
something goofy, like
Mhm.
an oversight, and she probably has just paid the regular same amount all the time. And
Yep.
didn't pay that, so then it was considered late because she didn't pay that
Mhm.
little bit of extra or whatever.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Hi.
Let's say you have a potential listing, right, and the seller has a predetermined price. Would you mention the pricing strategy prior to or after signing the listing agreement?
So you have somebody that wants to list a house and they're telling you what they want to list it for rather than going by your comparables? Is that what you're telling me? They're wanting to list at a price that you didn't suggest?
More so that they saw a price on Zillow and listing on Zillow and they have
Right.
pricing.
Right. Well, you need to explain to them prior to listing, and you have to give them the facts, like show them, like, you know, run your comps and show them, okay, this house just a block over or whatever, same square footage, same this, same that, sold for this amount, and know that, you know, your buyer's going to have an appraisal. So even though if they agree to pay you what you want, it's still they're going to use that house for a comp. And so if you get a cut appraisal, then you're going to have to come down on your price anyways, you know. So I mean, you need to give them the facts so that they don't feel like they didn't know, you know, because that's not your pricing. Say, I'll list it at whatever you want me to list it for, but know that, you know, we need to come down on the price in a couple weeks if we're not getting any activity, and that it could make your house linger on the housing market longer, where you're going to get less because people are going to be like, why has it been on the market for 30 days? So explain all those negative things of overpricing a property, and then let them know what you really think it should be priced at. You know, so give them your value, you know.
I know that a selling point would probably be telling them that if we list at the right price, and well, actually, this is more so for a potential listing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Right.
let's just say the home is in a really nice school district and highly desirable. However, she wants to go based off of the Zillow pricing and a little bit above. But my idea as a pitch would be to tell her if we price it right, buyers would be willing to drive up the price. Would you recommend that?
Maybe, you know, I mean, this is how it's been said to me, you know, is that Zillow hasn't been in your house. You know, your house might not, they're just looking at square footage and what things have sold for. They're not really, they haven't been in your house. They haven't been in the house that they're doing their comparable with. I've looked at your house. I've looked at the comparables. I've looked at the pictures in the comparables, and this is where I think you should be. So, because that's what you'll do. You know, you'll do a walkthrough at their house, and then you're going to look at the other houses that sold around them, and maybe this one has a brand new $100,000 kitchen where the one next door that sold has an original kitchen that's 30 years old. I mean, that has value. You know what I mean? Or they don't. That house that just sold for $50,000 more had that kitchen and yours doesn't. You know, you can't sell it for the same price, right? Right, Kelly? So you have to look at the pictures of the houses that have sold around them, not just the numbers a lot of times, and explain that to them.
But I mean, sometimes you can explain it and people don't listen. You just gotta do, it's their house,
Mm-hmm.
it's their price, but all you can do is give them the facts and encourage them to make the right choice.
Yep. And then if it doesn't, if it doesn't sell, then you've already told them why.
Face in front of their house for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good partnership then, right? Like if they're not willing to partner and listen to what the market is
Mm-hmm.
showing them, then maybe it's not a good partnership to have.
I'm gonna tell you, I had a listing.
Well, you don't want to give up a listing though. So if they're wanting to list it $10,000 more, I say go for it. But
Getting free advertising in front of
yeah,
the house and you've got
yeah.
a listing and it
Mm-hmm.
eventually should sell unless it expires and somebody else gets the listing after that.
And eventually, you're going to give them the feedback for every showing that they've had. And if people are saying that it's overpriced or it's this or it's that, they're hearing it from them, not you. You've already told them that. Yep. And then you
It
still,
seems like a common theme in our market. Like I'm constantly looking at the market, and it seems like everybody is dropping their price.
mm-hmm,
Because everything's overpriced.
mm-hmm,
And finally, the buyers are getting wise. They're tired of being ripped off.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. So,
They're just not buying. Like I had a couple of people just be like, I'm not gonna buy a house. I just can't. Like
mm-hmm,
this is crazy.
I've heard that from people saying, I'm not going to buy a house right now.
mm-hmm.
This market's crazy. That's what I'm calling people.
Yeah. But when it changes, it's going to change. Be ready. Be ready. When those interest rates drop and people are going to be putting their houses on the market, then
And you'll be tearing your hair out.
You'll be
Why did I
ready.
do this? But it's all good.
yep,
All positive.
be ready to go. You're all trained and polished up. Soon, soon, soon. Be optimistic here. Yep. So, and you already know that an FHA appraisal sticks with the house, not with the buyer, right? You all know that, right?
What do you mean?
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So a conventional, like if you have a buyer that's conventional and it came in as a cut appraisal and the whole deal fell apart, that seller can get another buyer, conventional or FHA, it doesn't matter, they're going to get another appraisal. But if you had an FHA contract, it was FHA, and the FHA came in a cut appraisal and the deal fell apart, that seller couldn't resell that house to an FHA buyer because the appraisal is going to be the same for many months? For months. I forget the exact timeline. So just remember that. So, okay, the appraisal follows the house, not the buyer. Conventional doesn't matter.
Can you appeal the appraisal?
You can try, but it's not going to do anything.
Does that not happen very often?
It happened with me just recently because it was, in fact, we won the listing, the buyer's agent and I won because we saw that there's no way that house appraised $13,000 less because all the comps, and we won. And that we had to get another appraisal though.
Conventional or FHA?
It was conventional.
Okay.
We had to get another appraiser though, not the same one.
I'm just curious, what's the process for that?
It depends on the lender. If the lender sees it, that there's value in that buyer didn't have to pay for another appraisal either because we sent all the comps in and showed that it should be sold for this. And then the bank saw that we were right, and then he didn't make that buyer pay for another appraisal. Just depends. Most of the time they don't, though. Just to be honest with you, most of the time they don't. You better have a good.
If they don't, can you pay for another appraiser or?
You can and see where it goes if the buyer's willing to put out another $600, but.
But if you're overpricing a house, 30 grand, it doesn't matter how many appraisers you come out and have appraised that property, it's still probably going to be undercut. I mean, but if it's something like
Mm-hmm.
let's talk new construction, every house on the street is selling for 225, brand new construction, except this one you got an appraisal on. Not that I don't know if they really work like that.
Yeah.
And it's only 100, but it's the exact same as everybody else. Obviously, you have a right to fight with that. I mean, you have to have some
Mm-hmm. You have to have hard
solid
evidence. Yeah.
evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I've never even heard of an appeal with that, so I didn't realize that could happen.
Yep, it did. It did, and it doesn't happen very often, though.
Yeah.
I think appraisers They don't like to change what they did because I think they're,
Maybe probably shows liability on some.
or maybe they're just too proud, like, no, I'm right and you're wrong. And this is, you know what I mean? So unless it's something like they made a mistake where it was they completely missed a finish basement and they've got 0, something like that that's cut and dry. So you would just need to look at everything to make sure they didn't forget anything that was on your listing, right? So, yeah, cut appraisals aren't any fun at all.
They-
Neither are
so
failed
they ever
septics.
send the agent like a copy of like their mathematics?
They'll send the buyer a copy of the appraisal. The buyer paid for it, the buyer gets it. And so if there's a cut appraisal, the buyer has to share it with the listing side if they want to prove that it was a cut appraisal, which they would have to do. And sometimes you can negotiate that where, the buyer will pick up some of that cut appraisal if they have the funds, but I think that market's over.
Yeah, probably. Unless the rates drop a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's my opinion on the market.
Is that
But
where that one hit form comes in handy where you, what is that form? It's like
appraisal
The
gap.
net sheet? Oh, the gap appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
contract.
Yep. If you have that in advance, then yeah, that means the buyer's going to pay. If it's a cut appraisal, the buyer's agreeing to pay so much of that cut appraisal. So if you have that, then
That's something that you file with your purchase.
with the offer.
I thought that was something that you could file afterwards.
No, with the offer. You send it with the offer. Yep.
So if your buyer is willing to pay cash to cover the difference, did not have that form in the original purchase agreement, would you have to file any of the paperwork, or would they just provide cash at closing?
You would just have to probably do an addendum if there was a cut appraisal saying buyers, are willing to pay. They'll pay the difference between the appraised value and the purchase price or whatever.
It's kind of part of that negotiation scheme. You know,
Uh-huh.
okay, we hear it's a cut appraisal. We know that we're willing to do this, so let's let them know. Send
Yeah.
them the form, and they're going to counter back. We like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Maybe you could throw in an extra grand or something. And you're like, no. So it's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all an addendum because you're adding that information, not changing the
Mhm.
information per se. But yeah, typically I would say do it with your offer.
Uh-huh. Yes, definitely do it with your offer if your
You
buyer's
might not
willing.
get to that negotiation point if they don't
Mhm.
accept your offer
Mhm.
at the
And if
beginning.
they're offering more than the purchase price, that would just make their offer stronger, especially if you're in multiple offers, if you've got that appraisal gap in there. But, I would say there's 2 times to renegotiate after you have an accepted offer, and that's if there's a cut appraisal and during the inspection time. So sellers are like, oh, I sold my house, well, I got a house. No, we have to negotiate after inspections again. Because not one time in my career have I gotten an inspection response that there are no repairs, they'll buy the house as is. I mean, you about fall over. I about fell over. I was like, really?
Everybody always wants to get something more out of the deal if they can.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. And always get it in writing. Like, send an email. Like, don't talk to somebody on the phone and then say, oh, well, they said this. No, if you're agreeing to that, send it to me in writing. Have them send it to you in an email because that doesn't hold up if they just told you something. And then sometimes you feel like you're losing your mind. And then you're like, did they tell me that? And then I'll go through my emails to see if I've got that in there. So always, Quinn told me that a long time ago, always get it in writing, an
People
email.
will say a lot of things, but when it comes to signing on
Mhm.
the
Yep,
dotted line, things can change. So that's
Yep.
why writing's important.
yep. And then, then you're going to get to the end where you're going to get your closing statement from the title company and wiring instructions. I always tell my buyers, some title companies will send it to you encrypted, the wiring instructions. Some title companies want you to pick it up at the office. I know Fidelity prefers for you to pick it up at the office. They'll send it to you encrypted. I tell my buyers, do what you're comfortable with, but there's a lot of fraud. So if you have it emailed to you, call the title company and make sure the numbers are right on the account numbers that you're wiring to. I would never want that nightmare. of having a buyer wire it to the wrong company. So always verify the numbers whether you email them. If you pick them up, you're okay, but if you email them, and watch your emails and make sure that they are really from the title company because of fraud.
Very, very good
Mhm.
at spoofing title companies right now.
Yep.
And, I think because they know title companies are big stoppers.
Yeah.
of fraud ones.
Well, your husband probably, you said he sees that every day.
Yeah, he sees that. I mean, that's pretty much what he feels was part of that, but, they look, sometimes I don't even know how we can catch them. They look that official.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything seems off, you're gonna get familiar with the people that you work with, the lenders, the people you
Mhm.
know. If anything that doesn't sound like how Angie might talk typically, it's probably not Angie.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just be very careful.
when it comes to
Mhm.
wiring funds that you
Yep.
haven't been given inaccurate
Always a good
information.
idea to check and verify account numbers. So, and then you'll want to look at, this is where I'm kind of weird about this, but I always like to, like, when I give my seller net sheet, and I like you got a seller and you got a buyer and you do the seller net sheet. I always try to get as close as I can. So when I get my closing statement, I'm always like, okay, got to get the closing statement out and see how close I was to my seller net sheet. Yeah, it's like a game I play with myself. So I'm always like, oh man, I was only a couple $100 off. So it's satisfying to know that you were close, because you're never, and I always circle estimated when I give them the net sheet because it always is estimated because you never know what's going to change on it with taxes or recycling bills that haven't been paid or anything like that. So I always keep a copy of my net sheet and compare it to my closing statement when I finally get that from the title company. Just a fun little game I play with myself, right?
No, that's a great idea. Having a competition with yourself and then, oh, I got it.
Yeah, or it may help you change how you do your net sheet because you're like, oh, I didn't compensate for that. I better do that next time. It's kind of a learning process. So,
It helps make you feel a lot stronger about your knowledge.
yeah, just to kind of make
As
sure.
you get closer and closer to
Yeah,
that.
because I had one the other day. I didn't know Fidelity changed their fees. I didn't get an updated chart. I don't know if it's because Duke left and then the new person, and he didn't bring in new charts. But I was going by an old chart, and I gave my seller the old fee. And then when we went, and she's like, "Why, man, the title fees really went up." And I'm like, and I looked, I'm like, they did. And so I called Fidelity and I'm like, when did your rates go up? And they were like, you don't have the up. And I'm like, no, I don't have the updated chart. So then um, the gal over there brought in a whole bunch of new updated charts into Cressy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, stuff like that. Just pay attention because things change all the time. So, but yeah, and then you'll want to do that. And then make sure on your wiring instructions, you're going to get, then closing details. So don't ever set up a closing assuming that it works just for you and your buyer or your seller. You always want to be respectful and check with the other side because they have a life too. I've gotten a closing confirmation. I'm like, we didn't agree to that. It was just kind of disrespectful to the other agent. You know what I mean? And people on the other side because you want to coordinate what works for everybody. So yeah, just be respectful and do that. And then always do a final walkthrough. And preferably the day of closing because you never know what can happen the night before. If it rained really hard and the water gets in the basement, I had an incident where we went in for a final walkthrough and the water softener was leaking. I had another incident where the water heater was leaking. So you just never know what can happen. And then they're going to close, sign everything on. They got the house, they get their keys, they go in, they're excited, and something's not working, then they're not going to be happy. And then have them sign that they're accepting the property as is. There's a final walkthrough form in our dot loop under Cressy. So take that with you and have them sign that they're okay with the house as is. And then if they're not, then we need to negotiate, a water heater or water softener or whatever's broken. Yep.
What form would you use for that?
The same form. You would just say, because on that form it says acceptable or not acceptable or acceptable except for, and then you have to put seller compensated for new water heater. So we'd have to get, like we got bids for a new water heater and then they just gave that seller the money at closing. just to keep things rolling, whatever needs to be done. So, and then, I usually go like 4 to 5 weeks out just to be safe. Depending on what's like, if it's going to be a delayed closing and the seller wants a 45-day closing, then just figure 45 days, whatever is negotiated on. And when I have a purchase agreement or somebody wants to write an offer, I always call that listing agent too, especially in this market, and say, what's important to the seller? Because it's not always about the price. Maybe they want 5 days post-possession at no cost to them. Maybe they want a 60-day closing because of their circumstances. So, find out all that, what's important to them, because that may help you win the offer. If it's okay with your buyer has somewhere to live, they're okay if they're okay with a delayed closing.
And so you call the seller's agent.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because you were saying, like, make sure that the timing is good for the other agent and other parties involved. So is that where you're asking them, on this offer that I'm sending you, when would you like to close?
Yep, like what, yeah, but then, and then when the deal's all done and you're getting ready to actually close, you'll want to contact them again and say, what time of day it works for you to close on the 18th or whatever day you've chosen, So, because you just want to find out if morning or afternoon or, and the title companies don't do closings after 4 o'clock, just to let you know. So if your buyer says, I want to do it after I get off work, well, it can't be any later than 4. So have you figured that out, Kelly, already too? You've had people? Really?
Yeah.
I always get people that want to do it in the afternoon.
I would have thought after, who wants to wake up that
I had somebody that wanted to do it at 8 a.m.
I know, right?
Beating the
I
crowd.
actually saw a post that Adam from Meridian and
Mhm.
Elkhart had gone to someone's work, like he's a doctor intern. I was like, I work all day and whatever. And so he and the agents went to the hospital to have him sign so that they
Oh,
could close because it was like,
yeah.
his work schedule does not work with our schedule. So
Uh-huh.
we made it so that we could get it done. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, we do what we have to do to get it to the
Right?
closing table. You work that hard, right?
Right?
You've got to go
Yeah.
walk it over there. So, yep, everybody works together. That's the thing that's great in this business. The title companies will work with you. Everybody wants you to succeed and get to closing, right? So, but you do have difficult people. And I really feel like even going through this process is like, you have to read people's personalities too and kind of act upon their personalities, because it really is about how they are and how you have to react to them. So just kind of keep that in mind and become a good listener, because they don't always want your opinion on some things aren't really, they don't want your opinion on it, so don't give it to them, So just give them the opinions on the transaction, but probably nothing else. I mean, yeah, you can give me your opinion on the carpet, but like I just had a seller and she's like, well, I want to give an allowance on the carpet. And I'm like, well, you can do that, and then she ended up getting new carpet and she's like, I'm so glad I got new carpet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like so much better, So it's like having a graduation party and waiting until right before the graduation party, and then you fix all these things in your house and make it pretty, and then sellers are like, why didn't I do that before?
Man, I could sell my house right now. Business.
So, I mean, we're all guilty of that, right?
Definitely not that clean anymore.
But anyways, so yeah, just definitely read people's personalities, and you'll make friends along the way. And then there's, one transaction I had, I was like, oh, I never want to see that person again. And I actually left the closing and I deleted their phone, like the contact out of my phone. Seriously.
I've never
I'm like,
experienced you that angry at somebody.
it would come up over my phone and I would have like anxiety, and I'm like, I never want to hear from this person again. And it wasn't like it was a bad transaction, it was just their personality. And it was just and so I deleted it. And then I was up in Michigan at a Meijer store, and I'm in the produce department, and I hear somebody go, Debbie, Debbie, is that you? And I turned around and it was them. And they were as nice as could be, nice as pie. Oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And I was like, but
I think she's still traumatized from this decline.
I have a funny one. Okay, so I helped this couple buy. They were living in Florida, and they had like to sell their house, and so they did this like quick turnaround.
mm-hmm.
So, you know, they had to close on their house, drive up here, and then close on this house.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of stressful, and she was very on top of everything. And I'm glad that she was, but she was like,
Not everybody is. but
yeah,
yeah.
she was like she was on it. But so they bought this new house, and the listing agent is actually still under development because it's a new house, like it's a new build. And so the listing agent, who was nobody by the end of the transaction, but she was doing an open house at one of the houses nearby, and these people put up this bow during the open house and was trying to like get the people that were coming out of the open house to come and buy their new house.
That actually happened.
Oh,
actually.
And she
wow.
told me, she's like, I just want to let you know that you,
In my neighborhood, I noticed it wasn't with our company, but a house
yeah,
for sale.
like within
And-
6 months of them building it and buying it.
Well, no, but when they had their open house, somebody threw a FISBO 2 houses down. To try
Did
to
their
get
open
that.
house
And
at the same time.
But I mean, isn't that just crazy? Like, I haven't been an agent that long, and they're selling our house already. But the thing is that like they didn't want to pay me. They had the seller do it, and also, and they didn't want to sign the agency agreement. They did sign it, but they wouldn't like sign it for any more than it was contracted to be sold. Like I had
Maybe
to
the builder
decrease
had
my
some.
3%. Yeah, the builder had something for it. Like, but and then when they sold their house in Florida, they didn't pay an agent to do that either. They paid the agent for entering it into the MLS.
The transaction.
There's just some people that just want us to do everything for free, right?
Yeah, they just don't want to pay.
Yeah. But then they want information from you. They do need your help ultimately.
Contracts that they ended up paying her for the contracts so they could close. It was just crazy, like the whole. And I'm like,
Nobody thinks
they
they
don't
need
see the
everything.
values there.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, I just want you to know that I'm not going to try to get that listing from them. And I was like, oh, you know, it's okay. Like, I'm not going to try either.
Yeah.
But you made a friend out of it.
Yeah, she's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Rodrigo?
So, prior to a listing agreement, how much information would you actually give the potential seller?
To the seller prior to a listing agreement?
Prior to a listing agreement, what?
When it's doing like a walkthrough.
Yeah, like a walkthrough, and then once you obtain your comparables, how much of that information do you want to give away to the seller?
Like when you do a market analysis, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. Well, like, is there something in particular that you're thinking of?
I don't know, because I've heard maybe you say you don't want to give away all of your home.
Well,
Hmm.
I could see that with a buyer potentially. If you're running a bunch of comps. I can't imagine what.
I can see that with the like for sale by owner.
Yeah, if it goes to.
If you're trying to pitch to a for sale by owner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see what, okay. So you are trying to win over this listing. It's already being sold by the owner. And maybe, or they're debating whether or not they want to use you or for sale by owner. And they want you to create the market analysis to see what their home is worth, because more than likely, they're gonna try to sell it on, all they need is that price, right? They don't know what they don't know. They need a lot more than that price from you, but they'll hurt later because of it.
I probably wouldn't leave them a seller net sheet.
Yeah,
I mean, there would
wouldn't
probably be some
anything
things.
more than maybe, would you even do a CMA form? Or just a roundabout price?
I don't know. It just depends, I guess. I don't know.
Could you maybe take an approach of like, this is what I would do to sell your house and pitch the value of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then say, well, and then they ask you, oh, well, did you do a CMA? Well, then you can just say, well, I usually like to do a walkthrough before I do a CMA,
Mm-hmm.
but are we gonna work together?
Mm-hmm. You can do whatever. I mean, you have to fill people out for
They
the
might still ask for your
situation.
help even though they aren't willing to sign
Yeah.
something, and it would be up to you at what point you want to walk away and say, because there are people out here who will
Mm-hmm.
use you for as much free as you'll give them.
So here's the situation that I had. So right when I started in the business, I did open houses. I was telling Jen every chance I had, every weekend I did an open house. And I met a person there who became a longtime client of mine. And her and her husband asked me to come out and do a market analysis for them on their home. And I did, and I gave him all the information. And then he called me up and he said, we're going to try and sell it for sale by owner. Thank you for your information. And then he was like, by the way, they needed some repairs done, like on their concrete and some other things. He goes, would you mind like giving me, any contacts you have that maybe could fix those things for me? And I did. I gave him that information. And I've gotten so much business from them.
Since then,
Mm-hmm. They
real
end.
estate business,
Mm-hmm.
They end up selling their house on
They
their
ended
own.
up selling their house on their own.
you
He
realize
e-
how hard it was.
he even contacted me about questions they had during the sell, like how they should handle things. I gave them my opinion. They ended up buying a house from me. They ended up selling their dad's house, mom and dad's house through me. They have given me a selling of a niece, the selling of another niece. I mean, so sometimes if you give value to them, they may, if they like what you've done, they may give you business for it. You may not get their business immediately, but you'll get something down the road.
And I know I did that ninja course, and they tell you to just do CMAs for people.
Yeah,
You-
we
you-
typically
they
offer,
rent
that is
houses
part of
for
our
them.
marketing spiel, is that you can call us and get a free CMA. If you're trying to win it, it might not be a bad thing putting it together, because one, it showcases what you're able to do with it versus
Mhm.
what this FISBO person is able to do with it. Um, just the fact that you can put the comparable together and come up with a more solid price than maybe what they thought before, they might use your price.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get an agent with the buyer for that property who starts trying to negotiate, that's when you're hoping, I suppose, that they come back to you and say, no, I need your help. I
Mm-hmm.
need your help. There are some people who are going to be headstrong and just try and sell it. And they will probably try to avoid title companies. They'll do whatever they can
Yeah.
to avoid
Yep.
incurring any further costs.
And
But
it,
long term, it'll probably bite them in the butt because something's
and it depends on personality again. How much do you like that? I mean, I really liked these people. They were very kind. You know what I mean? But if you get some guy that's really arrogant and, you know what I mean? Then you're like, well, he treats you like you're nobody. And, that, don't you agree? It's like, when you, yeah,
I mean, you can pick and choose who you
yeah.
want. To that extent, who you want to work for. Now,
Like
yeah,
that person that you got a good vibe from,
Mm-hmm.
you probably felt like giving them value wasn't like them taking advantage of you. Maybe they were actually considering,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they just had somebody that they thought wanted the house and they decided to do it for sale by owner. And anyways, it paid off. It paid off in the long run. I got other business out of it. So,
put your best foot forward.
yep, yep. Give them knowledge and hopefully they'll give you something in return.
wouldn't be a bad idea to, like Jen said, show what you're able to do, not just the price, but
Mm-hmm.
our marketing system.
Mm-hmm.
Here's all the places I can put it, or what we can do, options that we can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You probably wouldn't have a listing booklet of that property, but maybe you could grab one when you have a property at that point, or from another agent. He can put this together for you. All of these things are gonna make it look nicer to a buyer or the buyer's agent that will help it sell faster. I can put it into MLS for you where everybody sees it.
Mm-hmm.
I think selling your marketing points
Mm-hmm.
before you give too much information is huge, because otherwise you're just giving away why would anybody ever want to pay you if they know you're nice enough to use you? I have friends that will reach out and say, I want to know what a price of a property is, and I know very well that they're not looking to work with an agent, and I don't do that for them anymore. They're using me. if it were a serious thing where I knew you actually wanted help or something to that extent, I have no problem helping. I've done that too. But if I know you're utilizing me but not willing to pay me, I don't really appreciate that because that's our time. This is how we make money.
Yeah.
I would never ask a plumber to come fix my toilet and then never pay him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. You just have to, every situation's different. Every transaction's different. Every personality is different. It really is. So you just have to just kind of go with that and follow your gut. I had a listing, it was it was in Lakeville, and I was dealing with a mother, and her daughter was an agent in California, and she was a real out in California, and she did all these rich areas and blah, blah, blah. Well, I did an open house there, and she called me up and she goes, well, are you doing an open house this Sunday? Which was like the following Sunday. And I'm like, no. And she goes, well, I want you to have a wine and cheese open house. And this house is in the country. And she was not very nice, and I said, well, I'm not going to do a wine and cheese open house. I said, we'll do another open house, but it can't be this week. I can do one in a couple weeks, And anyway, she just got she was just not a very nice person. And I just called the mom and I said, I had this conversation with your daughter and this is the situation. And she goes, I know my daughter, she thinks she knows everything, blah, 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 blah. And I finally just said, I don't think I'm your agent. And I did. I walked away from it because I wasn't going to deal with her. She has no idea what our market is like here, And anyways, they ended up listing with another realtor, didn't sell it. And I still don't think they've sold that house. It wasn't listed too high. It was just
You need to have wine and cheese.
wine and cheese. Yeah.
I think of wine and cheese.
Yeah. Right?
No, beer and pizza might have worked.
Yeah.
Cows and goats.
I know. Like, yeah, a keg and, yeah. Yeah.
Same with the Selling Sunset, where they do, these extravagant millions upon millions of things on TV, of dollars of properties on TV, those shows that just make it look so easy. You're dealing with different types of clientele in those markets
Yes.
than you are here.
Yeah.
People from LA probably have that money and expect to be treated a certain way.
Yeah.
We're easy going.
And she was like a bully. I mean, seriously, that was her personality, and I just wasn't gonna do it. So, anyways, you'll have that, and like she said, you can pick and choose who you want to work with. That's the beauty of this, right?
Especially when you get too busy, and you have too many clients.
I've never felt that way about anybody. I mean, other than that one guy, but she just rubbed me the wrong way, and I never even met her.
People that like to
Yep.
push their weight around
Yep.
and try to intimidate.
And then when the mother says, "Oh yeah, my daughter's like that," I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know her better than I do."
Would you mention that one of your marketing strategies? Would you say that you could potentially hook them up with a buyer through a lender? Like, let's say you have connections to a lender and you know that someone they have a borrower within that price point. Would you be inclined to use that as a selling point? Be get your home sold quicker?
I don't. For the FISBO, you mean? Or just in general?
Just in general.
I'm not quite sure what he's asking.
That's what I want.
Yeah, you want a lender to get you referrals. I don't think that you would say to somebody who's looking to list their house, whether it's listed or not, say, I think I can bring buyers because I work with such and such lender. I wouldn't put that in there because what if you can't? Then that's the one. But the lenders would send you referrals anyway of people, so you could have them in your back pocket, and you could say something like, I have buyers looking for a house similar to this right now. But if you don't, I wouldn't say that. You would know what your buyers are looking for, but I don't think I would.
Like you're trying to get a listing, and so you're trying to show them like you have a buyer for it, or you have the right lender for it. Is that what you're saying?
Just because price it properly.
Yeah.
But also the fact that I know lenders, and they may have people with them that are looking within this price range. I could perhaps help you sell the property quicker because of my connections.
I think that I would show my value in saying that we have over 100 agents that in our within Cressy and Everett, we have a networking hub that we can put listings on before they even go on the market and put your listing out there to these agents. Those agents may have somebody that's interested in your property before we even get it on MLS. We might get it sold. You know what I mean? I think that's the way I would approach it more than a lender being able to help you.
Yeah. The seller doesn't necessarily care what lender comes as long as somebody comes with money.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't know if that would.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
I think what Debbie said would probably be the better thing.
yeah.
We have that inner office communication type thing where, we
Mhm.
already have agents looking at it before it hits the market. I think it's a good way to go.
And another
200 agents is a lot of agents, so I mean, right off the bat, you would hope that one of them would potentially have a buyer for you anyway.
right. So another thing I got burned on once, I was going to bring to your attention. Let's see where it's at on the contract. Oh, on line 254, number Q, the limited home warranty. So I had a buyer a while back. Anyways, she didn't want the home warranty, so we put will not. And I just did it on the contract that way, and that was the end of it. So we were getting ready to close, and she said, well, I wanted a home warranty. And I said, well, you didn't tell me you wanted a home warranty. And we signed the contract that it didn't come with a home warranty. And she goes, oh, Debbie, you can make that happen.
Oh, what?
And I was like,
Make an amendment?
okay. So this is when I went to Sue. Sue was here. And I said,
Wants us to pay for
yeah.
it, is what she wants. She knows very well that she's not gonna get it out of the deal. She's
Yeah,
hoping at this point that the company or Debbie will pay for it.
right, right. And so, anyways, I went to Sue, and anyways, I did pay for half of it. I did. I paid for half of it, and we got it done. So after that, I was like, I'm not getting burned for that ever again, because she didn't sign for it, but I ended up paying for part of it. So this isn't something Cressy does, but this is something I do. So American Home Shield, this is kind of faded. It's in your thing. They have, it's really faded. I should print out another copy, but that you can get this on their website. And it says down here in this corner, which you can't read, accepting a home warranty or not accepting a home warranty, and they have to sign for it. I have my people sign for it now. So it's not only on the contract, I have it here too, that yes, they denied the home warranty or they want a home warranty. And I know it's stupid maybe to some people, but I just figured I was burned once, I'm not going to be burned twice. So,
You've got it noted in 2 different spots.
Yep.
They knew what they were.
Yep.
You were not agreeing
yep,
at that point.
they didn't sign it twice. And another thing is too, like if you do the inspections and you order them, you ask them what they're going to order. Make sure you do your purchaser's inspection authorization, like talk to them about what inspections they're going to have, and make sure you write all that down too. So make sure you didn't miss anything. What else? And then also on here, you'll want to do your agency relationship, and I always circle the 295 so that they know that 295 is going to come out of closing, so that they're not saying, well, I didn't agree to 295. Yes, you did. So you've got that in writing too. Like I said, everything in writing. Writing. And yeah, and then you'll do your pending progress sheet. It's kind of, you'll probably think it's kind of the same thing as what I gave you, but this is online, and I don't know, I feel like this is more thorough because it has your little checklist boxes. So, but yeah, I think just keeping your client informed and keeping everybody on the same page, communication, not even though a transaction is rough and it might not go to closing, you feel like, try to not make those emotions go to your buyer or your seller, because that can kind of ruin a transaction too if you're worked up, you know. I can't believe their agent said that. Can you believe their agent said that? Don't do that, even though you're saying it to your husband or who's ever in the same room with you. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this neighbor came up to us and started telling us all about the neighborhood and how terrible it is." And
At your at your buyer's final walkthrough? Oh,
the buying agent called me because it was one of the mistakes, and she was just like, "I can't believe it. I really hope we come tomorrow." And I was just like, "Me too." Oh my God, what are you supposed to do?
I mean, that's scary.
We sold it like we proposed. So. But I told her, I was like, it was a renter from next door, and that house was listed too. And I was like, make sure your buyers know that that house is listed, and probably because those renters need to go.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
happens to me when I'm showing apartments.
Oh,
The
really?
neighbors come downstairs and like, I don't recommend somebody died in this apartment.
Oh my
It was not
gosh.
this apartment.
Oh, that's funny.
Neighbors are crazy.
Yeah, that is the truth.
I have a buyer right now, and they love the house. They're getting ready to make an offer on it, and I'm like, okay, great. It was an estate, and she goes, did that seller die in the house? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I go, let me look up her name. So I went home, looked up her name, looked up the obituary. She died in the house, and 2 years later, her husband died peacefully at home in the house.
Oh. So did you tell your buyers?
But they were old and
I
peaceful,
know.
so.
Yeah.
You should have just
I gave her the information. I'm like, this is what I found, and you can research it yourself and decide if you want to make an offer. And she, yeah, she texts me back. She goes, I'm out. She goes, I'm out. She goes, I can't live in a house where someone's gonna be whatever.
It'd be fun to have friends. As
Yeah.
long as they were kind.
So I know if it's an estate or something, I know to look up before I take them to go show a house now. I research it to make sure nobody died in the house, because why should I waste anybody's time, right?
That's crazy.
Some people don't, yeah,
If she feels that
I've
strongly,
never thought to ask that personally. I've never
yeah,
been tempted to ask.
Well, maybe if there was like a violent crime, but like if somebody died.
yeah, peacefully.
It's all the time.
Her husband died peacefully at home with his family surrounding him.
Right? Like, that's nice. It wasn't like it was shot and killed there. You know,
I know, right? I agree.
See, the body outline is outside, not in the house.
Tiger and his like body outline.
But I hate that. I hate that question, though. Yeah, yeah, that's. So, anyways, but you come across all sorts of questions, all different situations. So, who has you have a listing appointment? And where's it at? In Elkhart?
Yes. in
Nice.
Concord.
Nice. You're going. Good luck. You'll have to let me know how it goes. I.
We'll have to go out and celebrate.
Yeah.
Drinks.
I remember my first listing. I remember it specifically. I was so nervous. And then Mary went out. I had Mary take my pictures, and Mary went out there, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope she doesn't tell him it's my first listing. I hope she doesn't tell him that.
I was gonna say, 'cause she knows she does the headshots.
Yeah.
So you knew you were a new agent at that point.
She just started like a week ago.
Yeah. When you had her list your. No, she didn't tell him that. But I was so nervous. I just remember
I
putting this.
remember